Welcome to the Boardroom. A podcast from Miami for Miami. Sponsored by Physical Therapy Now. If it's happening in the health and legal business, we're talking about it. Andy Zapata holds a bachelor's degree from Florida International University and has had a distinguished 18-year career in the healthcare business. He's an expert in startup businesses, helping grow small and medium-sized medical centers in healthcare industries. He knows what he's talking about. This is the Boardroom. And here's your host, Andy Zapata.
What an honor and privilege it is today to be here with the man, Mr. Jorge Flores.
Hey, Andy, nice to be here with you.
Oh man, what a privilege, and it is just to hang out on this fun Friday.
It is a fun Friday, and I'm looking forward to it.
I know. So George, tell us, for those of you that don't know who you are, Mr. Jorge Flores, like that in my office resonates like along the halls, and everybody talks about who Jorge Flores is. Like, why don't you tell the crowd, who is Jorge Flores?
Well, I'm a simple guy. Grew up here in Miami. Always had aspirations of becoming a lawyer. I did. I thank my parents, and I thank God above and beyond everything. I enjoy the practice of law. I enjoy representing people who are injured, trying to get them back on their feet. Oftentimes, I don't get to know the injured person because they die. So I enjoy helping the children or the family that he or she left behind. So it's a privilege to do what I do, and I'm honored to do it.
Well, George, thank you, because the world needs guys like you to represent a lot of victims of car accidents and wrongful deaths. But before we dig into that, George, let me ask you something. Fun Friday. How about a fun fact that nobody knows about Jorge Flores?
Okay, I love the country, countryside lifestyle. I love farms. I love horses, animals, the outdoors. I love cycling. I used to cycle a lot. I stopped a couple of years ago because of lower back pain. Since then, I put on about 30 pounds. So wow. Yeah, that's a fun fact for people to know.
So fun fact for you, there's a great guy that I know that owns a physical therapy center. You might want to check him out.
I know who he is. Yeah, I sure know who he is. PTN, Armando.
So George, so thank you so much for sharing that. I really acknowledge. And what I'm hearing from you, George, is I hear the word family. You talk about your parents. How important of a role was your parents in you becoming an attorney? Because the first person you thought of were your parents. How important was that? Tell me.
Extremely important. Those they were my mentors. They were my teachers, my first professors, and my last professors. I lost my dad about 24 and a half years ago. I miss him dearly. He was very inspirational in my life from the day that I took my first breath of air. And so is my mom, and she continues to be an inspiration. And because of them, I live in a great country as ours. I became the lawyer or the person that I am today, and everything that I could ever aspire to be, I owe it to both of those people, my mom, my dad. I love them, and I would not be where I am, and I will never be anywhere in life but for them.
Wow, George, thank you for those beautiful words. And I'm hearing, I hear the words coming out of your mouth, and all I can think about is like, you're a loving man, a family man, a man of values. Like that's the impression I'm getting from you. And I know you, so I can confirm that. George, thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Because
it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So George, let's dig into a little bit about who Jorge Flores is. Like, why did he become an attorney?
Well, again, my parents inspired me to live, be ethical, be straight, be transparent, be truthful. And I think that goes along with laws and rules. We live in a country of rules and laws. But for those rules and laws, we would not have a country. Those are the things that inspired me to become a lawyer, and I live by those rules. So I don't believe in Republican, Democrat, Independent. I believe that you are a person. You have certain values, principles, um, idiosyncrasies, and those things are what make you who you are. Uh, I am a conservative guy. I believe in God. I believe in the sanctity of life. I believe in freedom, and those are the things that, as I said, were instilled in me as a child by my parents, and those are the things that contributed to my practice, becoming a lawyer and practicing law, and helping out people, as I said, who are somehow injured by the acts or omissions of third parties.
Wow. Thank you. A man of integrity, a man of values, a man of love and faith. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so let's dig a little deeper into this, because I really want to understand what kind of law do you practice? I hear like car accidents, right? And so is it just car accidents that you represent?
No, no. In fact, the law of tort or personal injury, it's a very wide umbrella. Within that umbrella, there are certain sub specialties or areas. Um, you know, among those are medical malpractice, which I do.
Okay.
Um, in my family, there's a lot of physicians, including my daughter, my cousin, an uncle, my son-in-law. They're physicians, but you know what? They're also humans, and humans make mistakes. Last time I checked, the only human that did not make a mistake about 2,000 years ago, we crucified him. Okay, so we all make mistakes. Doctors make mistakes. So I do a portion of, a significant part of my practice is dedicated to medical malpractice. Also, nursing home litigation. A lot of elderly people in the dawn of our lives, at the end of our lives, we tend to end up needing some help at nursing homes, assisted living facilities. People oftentimes do not receive the care they need, and oftentimes sustain serious injuries and even death as a result of bad care. So I represent those families as well, or the residents themselves if they survive their injuries. So in the broad spectrum, I do personal injury, but with an emphasis on from automobile slip and fall, truck, plane, train accidents, nursing home, medical malpractice, negligent security. People oftentimes go to shopping centers, malls, movie theaters, banks, and they get assaulted and injured. Um, these places are supposed to provide the care, the security to its business invitees so that they don't get hurt. Oftentimes, people do get hurt, and so they're responsible for people's injuries and often their deaths. So I represent those people as well. So yeah, it's a wide umbrella. Personal injury is a very wide umbrella. Some lawyers practice, just limit their practice to automobile or bicycle, motorcycle accidents. My practice entails or encompasses all of it, from a slip and fall to a dog bite, automobile, plane, train, motorcycle, moped, truck, boating accidents, all kinds of injuries.
Wow.
Obviously, medical malpractice, nursing home litigation, negligent security. It's a wide field, and I enjoy it.
And George, for those people that say, like, I don't want to sue that person, what do you have to say to that?
Well, obviously, humans make acts, make mistakes. Sometimes are reckless or act intentionally and end up hurting others. Uh, when that happens, you have the right to institute a claim for your pain and suffering. Sometimes you lose wages. You have significant medical expenses associated with those injuries. Well, you have the right to be compensated for all that, and you have the right to file a claim if it's an automobile accident. There's insurance policies that cover that. If it's a slip and fall, there's insurance policies that cover that. If it's medical malpractice, there's insurance policies that cover those kind of acts. So yeah, you have the right to be compensated for those.
So, what are the chances when you make a claim against somebody that the person is going to be responsible to pay out of pocket? Because a lot of people say, well, I don't want to take the people's house, I don't want to take their car. Like, what are the chances that that person has to pay out of pocket?
Well, we live in a society of rules and regulations, and for that very reason, uh, to protect individuals, individuals purchase insurance, whether it's automobile insurance. If you're a professional, as I do, I have medical legal malpractice insurance. I pay it in the event that I make a mistake. Doctors purchase medical malpractice insurance. Nursing homes have their own insurance. Hospitals have their own insurance. Movie theaters, shopping centers have their own insurance policies. All of it is to protect people. And if, in the event that people do get hurt within the confines of those businesses and professions, well, then therein lies the ability to compensate the injured party.
So, what I'm hearing is the person really doesn't have to pay out of pocket, it's the insurance that's paying.
99.9% of the time, individuals don't pay. All they pay is
Wow.
a premium so that they have an insurance policy that protects them from any liability.
Wow. And you know, for some reason in the Hispanic community, that happens a lot. It's like, I don't want to take money from that person. I know he hurt me and I know I fell in his restaurant, but I don't want to take his money. And so it's important to understand that part.
That is the very purpose of the concept of insurance. Okay. And the way I try to explain it to my clients is, listen, insurance is like a shield. You have a sword and a shield. The shield is to protect you from somebody else's sword. And that's insurance. Insurance coverage protects you from personal liability and lets your insurance protect you and pay claims on your behalf. That's
Right.
the very purpose of buying automobile insurance or homeowners insurance or any type of insurance, so that if something happens, if you cause somebody injury, your insurance will respond on your behalf.
Wow. Well, George, thank you so much for explaining that because it's hard to explain that sometimes. And just for out of curiosity, how long have you been practicing?
Well, I've been a lawyer for 30 years, graduated from Florida State University College of Law back in 1990. I went into teaching the first couple of years of my practice. I went into teaching at several high schools, and I taught at FIU as well at their legal studies program. And then I've been practicing for over 25 years. I've been in the legal profession for well over 35 years, because even when I was in college, I worked as a clerk at a law firm in downtown Miami. So I've been in the legal profession, within the legal profession, for well over 35 years.
Wow. Well, you definitely are an expert. It says it takes 10,000 hours. You have over 10,000 hours to. So thank you for sharing that. And Jose, what is like if I can if you can have everything in life right now in your firm, what would your firm look like? Like paint the picture for me.
Well, listen, I have what I call a boutique law firm. Okay, boutique personal injury law firm, and I want to keep it that way. I really do. Why? Because I can provide my clients something that larger firms cannot. That is personal attention. I like to get to know my clients. I know them, when they come into my office, and once the case is resolved, either through verdict or a settlement, they continue to be our clients and our friends. And I don't what do you call it? I don't go on TV on commercials. I don't advertise at all. The reason why I don't need it, I don't do that, is because I don't really need it. My best advertisers are my clients. They're happy, they're satisfied. They'll always come back to me. If they don't ever need me, but somebody else does, they make
Right.
sure that those prospective clients hear about me. So that's how that's how I like to keep it. I like to keep it small. I like to keep it personal, and that's one of the fun parts of my practice.
Wow, man. And it seems like you're still having fun because like you just get excited just talking about your practice.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's and I get it. It's very emotional at times, because when you see people that have been devastated by catastrophic injuries or lost a loved one because of somebody else's fault, to be a part, a small, albeit a small part of, or big part, as they may see it, in terms of trying to get them back on their feet, that is really rewarding. It's really a satisfying sense of accomplishment when you get them back on their feet, and they get back, after such tragic injuries or the loss of a loved one. It's really nice to be a part of their new beginning.
Well, you know how important a boutique law firm is, because most of the patients that come to our practice, not to talk bad about any attorney, but they've never met their attorney, right? And so these boutique firms like yours, where they get to share one-on-one experience with the attorney, it's huge for them. They get to trust your brand and your name.
I agree. I get to know all of my clients. I'm not the type of lawyer that sends out one of my assistants to the conference room to fill out the paperwork and never get to talk to them. I like to meet people. I like to look at them in the eye. I like them to look at me in the eye. I like them to ask me questions.
Right.
If your lawyer cannot answer the questions, all of your clients' questions, then maybe it's time to change lawyers. That's what I always tell my clients. So I make myself available at all times. They can ask me any questions they want, although I tend to keep them abreast every step of the way. So they really don't ask me questions because we make sure we call them, we let them know what's going on with our case. And that to me is important. And the reason why I do that is very simple. I didn't learn this in law school or college. I learned this from my mom and my dad. Treat others the way you like to be treated. And how would I like to be treated? I like to be treated with honesty, transparency. I would like to know what's going on with my case throughout the whole process. And that's what I try to do.
Wow, George, that is amazing, my friend. And you do have a beautiful law firm. We've been working together for many years now. And
Yeah.
are your patients, they trust you, they love you, they talk very well of your firm. So very happy to be continuing to work with you. Let me
That,
ask you a
that,
question, George. What is like one of the most memorable moments that you've had from a patient or like a family in your practice?
well, I've, I've been fortunate to have had a lot of them. There's one that really jumps out at me. A gentleman that lost all of his toes, all of his fingers from a medical error, medical mistake. He went to several lawyers. He was turned down. He was told he didn't have a case. After having gone to about 2, 3 lawyers before uh, uh, coming to my office, he was very depressed. He didn't not a lot of hope. I told him that I'd do the best I could. I couldn't promise him anything, but that I would work diligently to see if there's something I could do. And at the end of the day, I was able to get him well over $4 million in
Wow.
compensation. So to me, that it really helped him because he couldn't work again. He couldn't do a lot of. He couldn't tie his shoes. And to this day he still can't. But you know what? Money does help because he's got now people that can help him do all the things that he could not do before and that he could not afford. So to help him and his wife and his family get a new start, a fresh start is really, really gratifying. And that is something that I just don't forget those moments.
Wow, George, that is a beautiful, beautiful story there. And I'm sure you have hundreds like that in the last 30 years. You probably have a couple hundreds of stories like that.
Yeah, I do. I have a lot of cases where, mom or dad dies and children grow up. So I get compensation for the children, money that mom or dad would have earned had they lived and worked and provided for their children. So oftentimes, what I tell these children as they grow and they get, all this money that I was able to obtain for them, I tell them, listen, mom still watching over you from up above. Or if it's dad, I tell him, dad continues to provide and care for you, even though he's not here. But from above, he continues to provide for you. And that to me is something that it's really important to let them know that, this money is coming from mom or dad, even though mom or dad may not be here because they died from due to somebody else's fault or negligence or intentional act,
Yeah.
for which I was able to get them compensation.
Wow, George, that's a beautiful story, my friend, and I can feel that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And George, Mr. George Flores, if people wanted to find you, how do they look you up? What's your website? What's your phone number?
Well, our website is www.jlflores at floreslawmiami.com. Um, um, and or they can, just Google attorney Jorge L. Flores in Miami, and they'll find me. They could call me on my cell phone at my office number, 305-598-2221. So, it's easy to find me. Just look for the attorney that will really care for you and provide and do the best he can to get you the compensation you need and deserve. I'm here. And again, it's easy to find me.
George, and two things. One, can we guarantee that? Because I know what the answer is, but can you guarantee that the patient that they're gonna talk to you in person, like they're gonna actually meet the attorney if they call
Oh,
you?
there's no question about it. There's no client of mine that doesn't get to meet me. It just doesn't happen. I sit with them for as long as I have to. I explain to them everything about the case. I give them my opinion, and I tell them, give them an idea of how the case is going to evolve. Obviously, you cannot predict the future, but I give them a general opinion based on the facts and information provided to me by the client, him or herself. How the case will evolve, and it's important to keep clients, as I said, informed, and I do that on a personal level. I don't have somebody else sit with them. I sit with them at the beginning. I sit with them throughout if they need to come in and get some information, or talk to me or ask me questions. And at the end, when I get them the compensation they, as I said, need and deserve, I will sit with them and I will congratulate them on the results. And after that, clients oftentimes get my cell phone and they call me and they tell me about new developments in their lives and good things and children and family and whatnot, or marriage, or all the good things of life. And to me, it's really gratifying to see that happen before my eyes. And that and the sense that I had a little bit to do with their fresh start is really really gratifying.
Yeah. And George, it's better to have, like I teach my kids, it's better to have 100 friends than $100, because those 100 friends are gonna get you much farther than the $100.
I agree with you, and let me tell you again. To me, my clients are sacred because they are the ones that continue to send me clients. They're my best advertisers. They're not paid, yet they are my best advertisers. If you do a good job, your clients are going to always come back to you. Humans tend to be faithful when you treat them right, when you get them a good result. The converse of that is also true. If you don't get them good, if you don't treat them well, if you don't get them a good result, they're not going to come back. Not only are they not going to come back, if somebody needs you, they may say, don't go to that lawyer.
Yeah.
100%. Again, the opposite of that is that when I do a good job, my clients always think of me if they need a lawyer, and particularly a personal injury lawyer. And if they don't, and I always tell my clients, I hope you never need me again. They will remember if somebody else needs a lawyer, a personal injury lawyer, medical malpractice lawyer, nursing home lawyer, they'll always tell people, hey, go see Jorge Flores. He'll take care of you. And that to me is really, humbling. And again, to me, it's the best advertising you could ever get.
Absolutely. Word of mouth and people recommending you because they trust you and they trust your company. That is amazing. And it doesn't cost marketing dollars, which is the best.
That's right.
And George, let me ask you something, because a lot of people, they're still confused about personal injury. Does this cost them anything? Like if somebody has a grandmother, grandfather in a nursing home, if they get in a car accident and they get rear-ended, if they slip and fall at a restaurant or a hotel or a supermarket, does it cost them anything?
It doesn't. Again, personal injury lawyers are not allowed to charge a client up front. And the Florida Bar, which is the agency that regulates attorney practice and behavior, does not allow us to charge a client. Now, some lawyers will charge you $200, $300. They'll say, oh, this is for investigative expenses. I will tell my clients, if you ever go to a lawyer, a personal injury lawyer, or a medical malpractice lawyer, and he tells you that he's going to charge you up front, for expenses or whatnot, investigative expenses, ask where the door is and get the hell out of there. Run out. You should not pay if a lawyer cannot afford to conduct an investigation at his or her expense. then you should, that probably shouldn't be your lawyer. So again, the answer is no. We cannot charge clients up front. We only get compensated at the end of the case if we're able to obtain either through a verdict or a settlement. So compensation, as far as attorney's fees, are not allowed until we get some sort of compensation for the client up front.
Wow. So it doesn't cost you anything to hire a lawyer.
It does not. It does not. We get paid out of the money that we obtain as compensation for the client. We get a percentage, which is what the Florida bar allows us to do.
Wow, George, thank you so much for sharing that. And any final for the people that are listening to this, anything else you want them to know about Jorge Flores?
Well, again, if you ever, I hope you people don't need me, but if they do, if they are involved in an auto accident, slip and fall, plane, train, boating accident, medical malpractice, if you suspect something happened at the hospital that shouldn't have happened, or at a nursing home, at an assisted living facility, if you were assaulted at a shopping center, if you were hurt by a third party, and you feel that if you have questions about the legal ramifications of that injury, please call me. That's what I do. That's what we do. That's what we've been doing. And our job is to try to get people compensated for their injuries. Call us at our office number, 305-598-2221. And I'd be more than glad to sit with you and ask and tell you what your rights are. And I'd love to take on your representation.
Well, George, thank you so much for sharing who you are and what you've been up to in the last 35 years. I hear a man of integrity. I hear a man of values. I hear a man that's willing to give face to his clients, and a man that's just here to do better for everybody else and get them the right compensation. George, I can't thank you enough for being here on this podcast with us today. And what an honor to have you, my friend. And we got to meet again to have some lunch and catch up.
I look forward to it, Andy. It was a pleasure. God bless.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you.